Rumours yesterday that as well as Chelsea looking to do a swap deal between Romelu Lukaku and Victor Osimhen, Tottenham have also asked to be kept informed and would be willing to send players to Napoli in the hope of getting the Nigerian goal machine to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But could we actually afford him? I'm not so sure. Is it another transfer red herring? Meanwhile, Aston Villa are looking to get a big name striker through the door, and even Everton are interested in an England international number 9. Is the transfer window passing Tottenham by? I'll talk about this and more in today's Premier League transfer news with Barnaby Slater. Guys, thank you so much for watching and listening. As ever, please do give this video a like, help it get up the algorithm so more people can see it. And if you're not already, please do subscribe to the channel. I'm only about 300 subscribers now away from 10,000. I want to break through that 10,000 barrier and you guys can help me. So please do press subscribe or spread the word about the channel to anyone who you think would like daily Premier League transfer news over this summer with a bit of a bent on Tottenham Hotspur to start with. Also, you can become a member of the channel. Only £1 a month. All the details in the description box below. Really helps me make this daily content for you. But let's get started. And I wanted to begin with really a reaction to yesterday's video where I talked about Fabrizio Romano giving an update on Tottenham's transfer window going forward. And a lot of you in the comments were incredibly angry. In fact, the video picked up a lot of traction with a lot of kind of angry Tottenham Hotspur fans who, as I mentioned at the top, really feel like the transfer window is passing us by. And what they seem to really take umbrage with was Fabrizio Romano saying that Spurs were looking to buy one forward player in the remainder of this window. And what people seemed to grab onto was the idea that Romano was saying that we were only going to buy one player in total for the rest of the window, when actually that wasn't the case. That wasn't what was said. That wasn't what I was reporting that Fabrizio Romano said. He said that Tottenham are specifically looking to buy one forward, as in attacking player this summer. But that does not mean that we won't be looking to buy other players too. And again, I've said it throughout this window so far, and I'll say it again. Tottenham are looking to get rid of the deadwood first. And by deadwood, I mean the players that do not suit Ange Postecoglou's philosophy. Okay, so we've done really well so far. I think we got rid of 7 or 8 players, or it'll be like 8, I think, very soon, because as I'll mention later in the episode, I think the Emerson Royale deal is finally very close to happening. And once those players are off the wage bill, once they've gone, once we've got some little transfer funds in for them, then we will look to push forward with our signings. Now, a lot of you will then say, well, we have to do it early. Why are we not doing it early like Aston Villa have? Well, the difference with Aston Villa is they had to sell 2 big players for profit and sustainability rules. So they've had to cover those players and that money as quickly as they can to appease their fans. Tottenham haven't had to sell any of their important players, because we are doing well when it comes to finances and we're not in danger of getting a points deduction through profit and sustainability rules. But do I understand your point? Yes, I do. I do know. I know that Ange Postecoglou said, I want to get the players early. I know that it would help us to have these players in for Ange Postecoglou's very specific pre-season and to learn the very specific style of play that Ange Postecoglou has. But I would say to you, look at all of the other teams. Arsenal, I think, have made one signing. Well, we made one signing as well, Archie Gray. And you would say, oh, well, they bought Calafiori. Spurs should have bought Calafiori. Well, Spurs, I think, were interested in Calafiori, but he made it clear he wanted to go to Arsenal. And as painful as this is right now, Arsenal are in the Champions League. Arsenal are challenging for the Premier League. We might challenge for the Premier League this season too, but we didn't last year. We dropped off. And also, there's some reports that Calafiori has been an Arsenal fan all of his life. Okay, so that was just a deal that wasn't possible to do. It's not always as simple as blow everyone out of the water and that player will naturally want to come to you. It's not always that simple. Man United have bought a couple of players, but they haven't gone mental yet. They have to get deadwood off their books as well. Man City, one player, I think Savio from their sister club. Liverpool, hardly really bought anyone in. They've got a change of manager to deal with. It's because of the Euros, it's because of the Copa America, and it's because there's not been a kind of merry-go-round of big signings happening. I mean, you might say, for instance, I'll talk later again in the episode about Victor Osimhen. Everyone knows he wants to leave Napoli, but that deal isn't being done. And the reason the deal isn't being done is because there's it's like a sparring session right now between the clubs. Nobody wants to blink first and go massive with a big signing because then they know there'll be a rolling effect and deals will get cheaper as it goes along. So I just don't think we should be that surprised and get that angry with the way that the transfer window has happened so far. We have to be patient. And even Ange Postecoglou said it himself just last week in an interview. We know exactly what we want. We know exactly who we're going for. We know exactly... I mean, he didn't say this, but the way that transfers happen now, they deal with agents specifically. And the agent, I think it's CAA based, that we tend to buy a lot of our players from. They know, and the player knows, where they want to go. The personal terms have been agreed. So unless something massive changes in the meantime, those deals will be done. It's just a matter of being patient. It's a matter of getting the squad space out. It's a matter of knowing kind of which homegrown players and club trained players we're going to have left. And then those deals will be done. I just don't think we need to go absolutely kind of throwing our toys out the pram. However, do I understand subjectively why those people who hate ENIC and hate Daniel Levy get so annoyed? I do, because what they want is they want trophies and they want them now, and they don't understand why other clubs have got trophies. Well, just as a little bit of devil's advocate to that, the two clubs who have hoovered up most of the trophies in the last 15 years, Chelsea and Manchester City, have both been basically at the very least accused, but also found guilty in different kind of, through UEFA mainly, of financially doping. They financially doped their way to success. Abramovich with Chelsea and offshore bank accounts, and with Manchester City coming up with fake sponsorship companies so that they could siphon money through from the Abu Dhabian state, through people like Etihad and these other fake sponsorship companies, to up their revenue so that then they can spend more money on player wages. So look, I know Liverpool have won some titles too. They've won the title and they've won the Champions League. They've done really well. And I understand we were swimming in the same waters as Liverpool for like 10 years. I think for like 10 out of 12 seasons, we actually finished above Liverpool when they were going through their crisis. But eventually, they got some owners that were willing to make the club stable again, and they picked the right manager. And that is the key thing. And I think we have the right manager in Ange Postecoglou. I really do. And I think, you know, it's not as simple as we need to buy him £100 million players or £50 million players. We need to get him the players that he wants with the attributes that he feels the style and the system and the club and the team needs. And I'm absolutely confident that with Ange Postecoglou, he is not a yes man. He will not just go along with anything that happens. If he's unhappy with the speed at which transfers are coming in, and I mean really unhappy, he won't just like be happy with it and stick around. He won't. He's a winner. He's a born winner. He's won everywhere he's been. And I saw enough in that first season of him to know that he wants to win at Spurs and he wants to do it right. And the football we're playing at the moment is beautiful, and it's so much better than it has been under Mourinho and Conte in terms of vibes at this club, and Nuno, obviously. Let's not forget Nuno. This is the best it's been since Maurizio Pochettino. And also, the Maurizio Pochettino success that we had, although there were no trophies won, that was success that Tottenham were not expecting at the time. Because when all of you who are angry at ENIC and Daniel Levy, when all of you talk about them as like Hotel FC or Stadium FC or Training Ground FC or whatever, you're forgetting that when they came in, we were so far behind everybody and so far behind Arsenal, for instance, in terms of our biggest rivals, that we had to do a 20-year project, basically, of building through infrastructure to build the club to a size where we could compete with those. And that's what they've done. And yes, I know the trophies haven't come, but in terms of now having the background, in terms of size of club and size of brand and knowledge of our club throughout football, throughout the world, we are now up there. And all that is waiting is for us to then put it together on the pitch, grow on the pitch the same way that we grow behind the scenes. And I know it's frustrating, but we have to just be a bit more patient. And I personally think that we have the right man in charge to do it now with Ange Postecoglou, and the right structure behind him in terms of, you all asked for Daniel Levy to take a step back from recruitment. He's done that. He's employed Scott Munn. He's employed Johan Lang. Johan Lang is getting a lot of abuse now, but from what I can see, Johan Lange is doing all of his business behind the scenes, and each time we make a signing, we're all surprised that it's happened. So all that's happened is that leaks aren't happening anymore, and I think that's a positive thing. Because let's not forget how angry we were when leaks would come out about Willian or other players that we were getting through the door, giving medicals to, and then other clubs would gazump us. Well, Johan Lang, I think, is trying to stop that. Scott Munn is trying to stop that, and therefore we're getting players in like Archie Gray, who has impressed me incredibly so far, by the way, and we're getting players in like him where clubs aren't able to gazump us because we are doing the gazumping. We are the better run club in terms of transfers now, I'm sure of it. Anyway, let me know what you think. It was a bit of a rant there, but let me know what you think in the comments. I'm very happy for you to disagree with me. I'm very happy, as you know, I'll reply to the comments. But I just feel like common sense needs to prevail and positivity needs to prevail. And I know some of you are a lot younger than me. I understand that. And you want everything right now. You want to win now. But trust me, when you've been on the journey for as long as some of us who are like my age have been on the journey, like since the late 80s, you do see how much better a position this football club is in now. And you're able to look across at other football clubs who have been swimming in the same waters as us for my whole life. And I would say right now, Everton as the perfect example. They were bigger than us. They won titles in the 80s. They won the FA Cup in 1994, since we have. And they have just fallen and fallen and fallen. Aston Villa, they're doing great now, but they've been in the Championship. They've been down. Like, yeah, they're in the Champions League this season, but I wouldn't swap where Aston Villa are for Tottenham Hotspur. They've got a good manager at the moment, but in terms of where their club is, I just wouldn't. They won European titles in the 80s, Aston Villa. The European Cup. Nottingham Forest, the same. They won the European Cup in the late 70s. I know that seemed a long way away for you, but for those of us who are a bit older, it's not as far as you think. And as you get older, and as Spurs continue to grow into one of the biggest clubs in the world over the next 10, 20, 30 years, I think your frustration that you have now, that we're not winning right now, will abate. And you'll be glad that this infrastructure was put in place so that we could become one of the biggest clubs in the world. I feel confident about that. But do let me know in the comments how you feel. I didn't mean that to be a 10-minute rant, but there you go. So I mentioned the top in terms of transfer news. It's a bit of a weak source, but apparently Spurs have been asked to be kept informed on the situation surrounding Victor Osimhen. The club apparently are willing to send over other players in a swap deal for him, just as Chelsea are. Chelsea looking to swap Romelu Lukaku with Victor Osimhen. I think the problem here would be wages. I don't think Tottenham are going to pay what Osimhen would want, which I imagine would be upwards of about 250 grand a week. But who knows? Let's see what happens. I could imagine maybe Conte being interested in like a swap deal for someone like Lo Celso or some of those other players, but I don't know if that's a realistic signing possibility. Is today the day that Emerson Royal finally joins AC Milan? All the talk late yesterday is that Spurs and Milan are now incredibly close to agreeing on a deal. Or will we be surprised once again? I'm recording this at kind of 9:30 in the morning. Will we be surprised once again? And Ange Postecoglou starts him in centre defence against the K-League All-Stars at midday today. Nothing would surprise me at this point, but I'm hopeful that Emerson Royal, who I love as a kind of cult figure, but I'm hopeful that he will leave the club very soon. And I should say also, if you're watching this before midday, do go over to We Are Tottenham TV for the watch along, where I'll be presenting that at midday, Spurs against the K-League All-Stars. Spurs apparently, as I've mentioned, all the backroom staff, the coaches and the manager have been very impressed with Will Lancashire this pre-season. And they are going to review options for his potential loan deal out this season, with interest already registered from the Championship, League One and European sides. That's according to The Athletic. Now, what wouldn't be a bad idea for me, I think, is if Will Lancashire got an offer from, say, an Eredivisie side. So similar to what happened with Troy Parrott last season. Don't forget, Troy Parrott scored 17 goals for a struggling Eredivisie side in Holland, and therefore got his big move for like 8 million. Now, we, I think, have a lot more faith in Will Lancashire than we did for about Troy Parrott, and that's why we sold him. But if Lancashire could go and get a starting spot as a 9 in an Eredivisie side, I think that could be a very good move for him. Or maybe similar to some of the players we've sent out on loan to Belgium, like Vuskovic at the moment, who has had such a great start in Belgium. Maybe we could go and get Lancashire some real starting minutes in a proper professional league where everyone's fighting for their lives. I think that'd be really good. Brian Hill obviously is left for Girona now, and he's given a little quote about that. He says, "I cannot be at a club where I don't get minutes, and I want to be somewhere where they really trust me." So that's like a parting shot really from Brian Hill there. Obviously, as we've mentioned, his deal apparently now includes a €15 million release clause, and that is what will be triggered by Girona or another club if he has a good season in Spain. I think he will have a good season in Spain, as long as he doesn't get injured or suspended for too long. I don't think he'll get suspended. What am I talking about? He's not really a guy who's going to get sent off, but as long as he doesn't suffer any kind of injuries or loss of form, I guess, where he wouldn't start in the team. Spurs yesterday reached an agreement with Spanish second division side Elche for the permanent transfer of Iago Santiago. Iago Santiago is a player who a lot of the people who I respect, a lot of the podcasters like The Extra Inch, Chris Miller there, Windy Coys, he really says Santiago should have got more minutes at Tottenham Hotspur. I have to say, I haven't seen a lot of him, but like I said, I trust Ange, I trust the coaching staff, and if they feel like it's best for him to go and make a start at another club, that probably makes sense to me. Having joined us at the start of the 2019-20 season from Celta Vigo, Iago initially linked up with the under-18s before moving through to our under-21s, but never really got a big chance in the first team at Spurs. Son-Heung-min, Sonny, our captain, has given a really in-depth interview while he's out in South Korea. He was asked what his best position on the pitch was. Some quotes here. He says, "If I were tasked with creating something decisive with one moment during the game, I would say that playing as a winger suits me more. Some people say that I shouldn't play on the wing anymore because I'm too old. They say that I'm not great at beating my man. I understand why those talks exist, but doing those things as a winger is still what I'm most confident at. It is also still one of the things I believe I am best at. When the opposition defence forms a low block and I have to create one decisive moment, it fits me to save my energy and deliver one lethal burst. But I understand fans can have different opinions on my position." I think that's really interesting, because that is a big argument amongst fans, isn't it? Is whether, Sonny, when we're playing those teams, of which they're probably realistically maybe 15 or so teams, maybe 14 or 15 teams in the Premier League who will play a low block, we do wonder, has Sonny got what it takes anymore to go on the outside? And he doesn't do it a lot, but what he is still absolutely elite at is cutting in on his right, and if given the chance, bending it into the far corner. And I actually think it's a real positive that Sonny is open about the fact that he thinks the left-sided forward role is his best role, because I think it would be easy for any player to be like, oh no, I'm the best striker, especially someone who's hungry for goals as much as Sonny is. It'd be easy for him to say, no, I think as I get older I should play striker, I'd be able to do a bit less running, etc, etc. But no, he still wants to play in that forward left role. He wants to cut in and he wants to score goals from there, and he's talking about how resting his body for decisive moments is important, and I do not disagree. Let me know what you think in the comments about that. He was also asked about what it's like setting the standards for the younger player at Spurs now that he's captain. He said, "Some players are far younger than me. If their captain is lazy and complacent, then they would think that they are allowed to be that way too. So I never let myself loosen up. I try to arrive on time for every meeting and be the first one to step outside to the training pitch every time. I don't know for how much longer I will play football, but I believe that I can continue to show my best only if I keep it this way. For this reason, I'm fighting myself hard to this day in this competition, in this world of competition." Yeah, look, none of that is a surprise to me, and actually mirrors stuff that Ben Davies said the other day as well, talking about people who are incredible professionals for this club. Ben Davies, once again, when I was positive about him the other day, I got a lot of abuse from some people in the comments. That's fine. It's okay for everyone to have their opinions, but I think having absolute professionals who are role models is so important in a squad. And Sonny is the best possible captain for that. I get some of your arguments that on the pitch he's not really a shouter and a screamer, and maybe Christian Romero would be better. But actually, I don't think Christian Romero is a shouter and a screamer really either on the pitch. He's more of a, I will plough through everybody in 50-50 challenges and reduces and show my motivation that way and my commitment. And that's understandable too. I can understand if you think he should be captain, but I think Sonny, in terms of a face of the club and in terms of having the respect from his teammates, and especially as we kind of come into this period of time at Tottenham where we have a young, growing, exciting group of youth players who are coming up into the first team, and they're all going to grow together and become a force. I think Sonny is the absolute ultimate captain. He was asked why we're seeing less of his trademark long-range goals recently. Sonny said the following: "I believe it was under Conte when I statistically scored the greatest amount of long-range goals. That was because we used a 3-4-3 formation, and the then gaffer wanted the wing-back to function as a winger and made Kulusevski and me play centrally, with Kane dropping deep. So naturally, I found myself back then in positions where I could immediately take a turn, cut inside and shoot from my trademark spot. Even today, when the opportunity arises, I try to get myself into that position and make something happen. When you play football, scoring from distance is something that everyone idolises, but I think the most important factor in easily creating those attacking chances is positioning. I think there are reasons related to tactical positioning in why there are less of those long-range goals coming from me. But that doesn't mean that I'm not scoring many goals these days. Whether it's pretty goals or not so pretty goals, what matters the most is the ball going into the net. So I always try to get myself in good positions to score many goals." Totally, like, if anyone was ever in doubt that Sonny is an incredibly tactical thinker about his game and does his research on his stats and studies himself, that just shows it for me. He knows exactly what's going on. He knows exactly why some seasons have been more successful than others. He knows exactly why at the moment we're not making that many opportunities for him to get in that position and bend it into the far corner that we know he can do almost better than anybody in I mean, arguably the history of the game. I think if you look back at Sonny's career, like maybe you'd look back at like a Premier League idol kind of role model like Thierry Henry. You know what Thierry Henry's go-to finish was. Open his body up, slot it along the ground into the far corner. Well, Sonny's is edge of the box, onto the right foot, bend it into the top left-hand corner. And he understands why those opportunities aren't happening as much now as they were under Conte. But I would say I'm willing to sacrifice those situations for the fact that now watching Tottenham Hotspur play is actually bearable. Whereas under Antonio Conte, I'm sorry, but it just became stodge. And as soon as the results stopped coming, it became... I had a season ticket and I stopped going for a few games because it was just, you knew exactly what was going to happen. So I think Sonny understands that too. I think he understands everything. This is a really good insight from Sonny. He was asked who his best friends are, a little bit more light relief. He says, I can't not choose Harry Kane. He's a legend. It's a big honour for me to play and have great records along with a player like him. He always asked me, Sonny, when will you play golf? We're very close. His wife always sends a Christmas card to my house. He was also asked on what it was like with Dele Alli being one of his best friends. He says, we're very close. It's been a long time for us. I'm very dependent on him. He always comes every time I'm having a hard time, comes to console me. That's lovely, isn't it? I still have so much time for Dele Alli. I'm really pleased for him that he's going to get another shot at Everton. And it's really lovely to hear because obviously I think we've heard a lot about people like Eric Dyer and Harry Kane and Son-Heung-min consoling Dele Alli when he's had a difficult time. But it's so clear that Dele Alli just has such a huge heart and is also a guy who really looks to help people when they're having negative moments. So, yeah, that was a great interview with Son Heung-min. Go and check it out if you haven't read it so far. Really fascinating. Before I move on to some more wide-ranging Premier League transfer news, guys, once again, please do press that like button if you haven't already. Really helps me. Also, press subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, I'm only about 300 away from 10,000. Let's get me through that 10,000 mark. It's such a big landmark. I'd really appreciate your help and spread the word to any other fans who you think would like my content. Also, you can be a member. All the details in the description box. Only £1 a month and really helps me. Okay, over to Man City at the Etihad. Julian Alvarez really looks like he is really after pushing his way out of the club at the moment. That is a player that a lot of you in the comments have said you'd like to see Tottenham interested in. Let me know in the comments what you think about Alvarez. Is he really the number 9 that we'd need in terms of kind of back to goal, holding the ball up and bringing players into it? I think he'd be a great kind of fox in the box goal scorer. He's an unbelievable finisher without doubt, and he's an excellent player. But at kind of 70-80 million pounds plus wages of, I guess, 200 grand a week at least, I don't know. Do you see him as a potential Tottenham player? Anyway, Julian Alvarez has said the following about his future. Last season, I was one of the players with the most minutes at Man City. But in the end, you don't like being left out of important matches. You want to contribute. I'll take my time to think about what I want for myself. We'll see. I mean, I don't think that sounds like he's desperate to stay. Let's put it that way. Another kind of bit of news on the deal that looks like most likely happening, which is Conor Gallagher to Atletico Madrid. Understood by Fabrizio Romano that Atletico and Chelsea are close to a full agreement on a deal worth 35 to 40 million euros, including add-ons. That's a lot less than Tottenham have been quoted all summer for him, which was about 50 million pounds. So that shows that kind of Premier League to Premier League tax. Chelsea are much more comfortable potentially selling Conor Gallagher to Spain, to Atletico Madrid. The deal now depends on the players' side and terms being agreed, but Diego Simeone and Atletico want Conor Gallagher as a priority. How do you feel, Spurs fans, about the idea of him going to Atletico Madrid? Did you want him at Spurs? We've been linked with him for so long. I think it would have been a bit of a boon to get in the Chelsea captain, but also a lot of you, and I can understand why, especially after seeing him be a little bit kind of flattering to deceive in the Euros. Maybe you see him more as just legs and energy rather than bringing anything outstanding to the table. But what I would say is, for me, would I rather see Pierre-Emile Højbjerg in central midfield for Spurs or Conor Gallagher? And the answer for me would be Conor Gallagher. I think he has more to offer. But it looks like Tottenham are not going to get that over the line, and he's going to go to Atletico Madrid. Meanwhile, Chelsea and Aston Villa both submitted concrete offers for Maximilian Bayer from Leverkusen. From Hoffenheim. 2 more clubs from abroad have also made contact, and Leverkusen are still in the race, but no club has directly started negotiations with Hoffenheim. They want around 30 million euros. That's according to Sky Sports in Germany. So Chelsea and Aston Villa, 2 of the biggest spenders in this window so far, still looking to add more names to their squad. Villa also interested in Crystal Palace's 27-year-old striker Jean-Philippe Mateta, who, of course, don't forget, under Oliver Glasner at the back end of last season, suddenly just had an absolute run of scoring. He couldn't stop scoring. I have to be honest, I didn't rate him at all before then. I thought he was a bit of a donkey. but he really showed what he could do under Glasner, and now Villa are looking to get him in as a target man to supplement all the signings they've made this summer. West Ham have apparently walked away from their talks with Aston Villa over John Duran, refusing to up their offer. Villa looking for a huge amount for Duran, who's hardly played any minutes. Their offer does remain on the table, but some West Ham fans I've seen on social media getting livid because they're looking to turn their attention now, apparently, to Nicholas Füllkrug. They do not like the sound of that. I mentioned at the top, Everton looking to bring in an England international number 9. Well, apparently that could be 26-year-old English striker Tammy Abraham from Roma. That's according to Sport Italia. David Ornstein has given an exclusive that Marseille have made an improved bid for Arsenal's Eddie Nketiah. Apparently it's close to 20 million euros, but this is in an offer that suits Arsenal better in terms of payment terms. Eddie apparently has already agreed personal terms, 5 years deal. Eddie Nketiah doesn't get a lot of starts for Arsenal, and Arsenal are looking to get money in, aren't they? Because they've just sold Emile Smith-Rowe to Fulham and Eddie Nketiah. I wonder if that money will go towards another kind of £100 million signing like they made last year in Declan Rice. And finally, Brighton have sold Pascal Gross to Borussia Dortmund. 33 years old now, Pascal Gross, but they've got a fee of €7 million plus add-ons, which is a great deal for them. And obviously a good move for Pascal Gross to go back to his homeland and play for Borussia Dortmund. Guys, once again, thank you so much for watching and listening. Really appreciate it. Do press that like button, press subscribe, help me over the line to 10,000 subscribers, and become a member. Only £1 a month really helps me. And thank you to all you guys who have sent little super chat messages as well. Really appreciate your support. And guys, enjoy. If you're not watching this after the Spurs versus the K-League All-Stars game, enjoy the game. Come over to We Are Tottenham TV for the watch along and get in the chat, because I'll be on my own, so I'll be commenting to all of you on the chat as well. Have a great rest of your day. Cheers.